The train had derailed. The impact had been violent. Metal screeching against metal. Sparks flashing in the dark tunnel like fireflies born from disaster. You had barely managed to brace yourself before the world tipped sideways. The cabin rolling. Seats tearing loose. Glass shattering into the abyss. When the chaos stopped, there was nothing but silence. An unnatural, suffocating quiet. Interrupted only by the slow, rhythmic drip, drip, drip of something unseen. You groaned, pushing yourself upright. The emergency lights flickered in a sickly red, barely illuminating the twisted wreckage around you. The rest of the train was gone, swallowed by the dark. The tunnel ahead stretched forward like the throat of some waiting beast. Silent, empty, and wrong. You shouldn't have come back here, but you had no choice. The factory called to you. 1. The tunnel. Your first steps echoed in the void, your breath misting in the cold. The tunnel walls weren't made of simple concrete anymore. They pulsed, damp and uneven, as if something beneath the surface was breathing. The air smelled like rusted metal and something sweet, like old candy left to rot. Then came the click-clack of plastic feet on concrete. You froze. The sound wasn't close, but it wasn't far either. It echoed from deeper in the tunnel. A mechanical rhythm too precise to be a mistake. Something was walking. Something that wasn't supposed to move on its own. A single emergency light flickered ahead, revealing a shape just at the edge of darkness. A figure, hunched and still, staring at the ground. It was a toy, but its proportions were wrong. Its limbs were too long. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle. A face painted into a permanent smile. Plastic fingers twitched. Then its head snapped upward. Its painted eyes locking onto you. The click-clack began again. And this time, it was coming your way. You turned and ran. 2. The factory breathes. The tunnel shouldn't have led back to the factory. It should have been a dead end or led to another part of the underground rail system. But as you sprinted through the darkness, the air thickened. The space around you shifting like a living thing. Then the walls peeled back. Suddenly, you were in a vast, open room. One of the old assembly floors. Conveyor belts sat motionless. Rusted machines looming like ancient sentinels. The overhead lights flickered weakly, struggling to stay alive. That was when the PA system crackled to life. Welcome back. The voice was distorted. But it wasn't automated. It was real. And it was talking to you. You should have let them sleep. The air grew colder. The machines, long dormant, shuddered to life. Conveyor belts rattled forward. Gears grinding against age and dust. A distant thump echoed from somewhere unseen. Followed by another. Then another. Heavy footsteps. Moving in time with the machinery. You ducked behind a crate. Heart pounding. From across the room, something stirred. The first thing you saw were its eyes. Glowing. Unblinking. Far too alive. Then the rest of it emerged from the shadows. Stitched together from countless other toys. Its frame a mess of limbs that shouldn't belong to a single body. Its fingers twitched. Its head tilted too far. Cracking like a broken marionette. It smiled. It's time to play. 3. The game begins. You ran. The creature's laughter echoing behind you. It wasn't the innocent giggle of a toy. It was something else. Something hollow. Something that enjoyed the chase. The factory had changed. Hallways twisted in impossible ways. Doors led back to where you started. Entire sections of the building rearranged when you weren't looking. It was like the building itself had woken up, reshaping itself to keep you inside. You slammed through a door, nearly tripping down a flight of rusted stairs. The air grew damp. The walls narrowing. Pipes hissing with steam. A single light flickered ahead, revealing an old security room. Monitors still active despite years of abandonment. You shut the door behind you, shoving a heavy crate against it. The screens flickered, showing different parts of the factory. One screen showed the assembly room where you had just been. Except now, it was empty. The creature was gone. Another screen showed a hallway, stretching endlessly. A third screen showed you, standing in the security room. Behind you, the breath on your neck was warm. 4. The exit that doesn't exist. You spun around, but there was nothing there. Just a cold, empty room. But the cameras didn't lie. Something was here. You backed away from the monitors, but the PA system crackled again. You can't leave until you finish the game. The door behind you rattled violently. Then it stopped. Silence. You had no choice. You had to keep moving. The security room had another exit. An air vent, barely large enough to squeeze through. You climbed inside, the metal groaning under your weight. The tunnel stretched endlessly. The darkness so thick it felt solid. Then, from behind you, came the sound of plastic hands gripping metal. Something was following you. 5. The end that never ends. You crawled faster, ignoring the way the air felt warmer, as if something was breathing against your skin. Your arms ached. Your knees scraped against rusted edges. But you kept moving. Then the vent opened up. Not into another room, but into nothing. You fell. For a moment, you expected to hit the floor. Instead, you kept falling, the darkness swallowing you whole. Then, suddenly, you were back on the train. The wreckage was gone. The cabin was intact. The lights flickered overhead, but nothing was broken. The tunnel ahead stretched forward, empty and quiet. Had it all been a hallucination? Had you imagined the entire thing? You turned your head and saw them sitting across from you. The toy, the one that had chased you. It smiled, hands folded neatly in its lap. You finished the game. The train started moving again. And as it did, you realized something. The windows didn't show the tunnel outside. They showed the factory. And in every window, staring back at you, were the other toys. Watching. Waiting. The train wouldn't take you home. It was taking you deeper. Back where you belonged. Back to playtime.